Hello and welcome to this not so live stream in which I don't really know what I'm doing, but some people asked me to do this, so I figured it might be fun to record myself drawing a background for the game, having spoken a lot about my methodology so far. I have no idea what a live stream entails. I haven't done this before. I don't even know if you can properly hear me right now. But we'll see how we go, with a couple of caveats. One being that my neighbours are having work done at the moment in their house, so that might make loads of weird drilling noise at some point. And secondly is that my chair, whilst comfy, is pretty much the noisiest thing in the planet. But there we go, we'll see how we go. So I'm going to open up Pixarchy, which is where I've sort of been drawing my backgrounds before adding any lighting, and go into this, which is floor 15 of the building, the sustainability department. So I might have mentioned briefly before, but the idea of the game is that you will work your way up a skyscraper, travelling each floor, kind of trying to get to the top for various story reasons that I won't go into now. And so a lot of the floors kind of have the same basic blueprint, but different things and different slightly different designs for each of them. So just so you know, or just to show you, I've got a couple of templates that I drew. So this is the very basic room template with the lift eyes on the left or the right, depending on where you are in the building. And I've sort of edited that here because this is the sustainability department, and it's going to be more or less like a greenhouse. So I've extended it out the back. So what I do first every time is decide that basic shape. You can see this layer here, I think, is this little orange circle. That is my point of reference, or point of perspective I should say, so that all the lines kind of come out from that, which helps inform the angles of everything in the rooms. Then it's just a case of like picking a colour. So I've gone with some greens for the walls here. Might change in the future, who knows. And then the next step is to draw kind of the basic layout of the room, which I've done here already. Sorry to cheat on you guys a little bit, but it helps to have that done. So this is going to have kind of a big glass enclosure, some tables, and then a couple of items of different furniture around the room. There'll be an item here in the middle that you will need to collect, and that's more or less it. So I should say as well, I've got like coming out of that dot, I've got some grid lines, but I've kind of stopped using those really because I find it easy just to draw lines coming out from that dot and then delete them afterwards. So I'm just going to have a sip of coffee before we get going, and squeak my chair a little bit, and hope that all the things I'm recording on currently don't crash, because that would be heartbreaking. And then I'm just going to set the opacity down on my reference layer, so that I can just about see it, and get going. So I think it's going to be helpful to start off with this glass enclosure, which I'm going to use some straight lines for and just roughly go over where I was before. I've sort of settled on this style where everything is kind of just off being straight lines, which it kind of gives it a bit of a cartoony look. But then for things like this where you're talking about right at the back of the room, I think it's fine just to make them as straight as possible, because otherwise it's gonna mess me up a little bit when it comes to drawing vertical lines like that. God, this is a boring start, isn't it? Drawing lines. So one thing I will say is, you'll notice that the background here is got nothing in it right now. The reason for that is that at the moment, you might have seen on the channel some backgrounds that I've already done have got sorry, I can't do two things at once. This is going to make a bad live stream, isn't it? yeah, some of the backgrounds at the moment have like a stock city thing that I drew ages ago, which is not going to be in the final thing. What I'd quite like to do is get to a point where, and I'll draw this at some point, but have layered elements of skyline that go back, because as you go up the building, I've already ruined my point of perspective here. Do you know what? Forget that. It just goes to show how much I don't know what I'm doing with this game. So yeah, I'm gonna try and layer those up so that when you go up the building, the perspective changes slightly rather than just having a static POV for the whole thing. I'm sure I'll cover that in a video at some point if there's appetite for it. By the way, thanks for watching this. I know this is a bit of a Dollsville video, but hey, maybe you can't sleep, or maybe you are just generally interested in this kind of thing. I don't know. I mean, each to their own, I guess. But one thing you might notice is I'm not very careful with any of this stuff. Sort of the Jamie Oliver approach to drawing, if you like, which is just to be a bit haphazard and get it done. Because I'm under no illusions that I'm a genius. And in fact, I've made another mistake again, because that isn't coming out of a grid that I randomly decided upon 30 seconds ago. It's coming out of there, just so it comes out of this bit here. Right. Do some colour. I feel like I'm a bit under pressure to do this really quickly because you guys are watching. But I guess that way madness lays. So maybe I should calm down a little bit and just accept this for what it is, which is a boring video of a man drawing lines. But hey, you're the one watching it, so what's that say about you? Pixarkey, by the way, is a very good little app, quite light and agile, but I do wish you could turn the canvas rather than having to turn the iPad. As you might be able to see, I'm left-handed and therefore quite backwards with the way I do a lot of things. So I keep sniffing as well, which is probably a bit gross. And that is not because I've got a cold, it's just because I am a sickly little boy. Please stop me when you get too excited by any of this. The cat just came in, which is nice. In the summer months, he exists kind of like more of a lodger than a housemate. Sorry, more of a housemate than a pet. As much as we never bloody see the guy, he's got his own life. You might also be able to hear my neighbours doing their drilling now. Now, if this was a live stream, I guess there could be some degree of interactivity and you could be telling me what I'm doing wrong or what you want to see more of, but because I'm pre-recording this, and I'm pre-recording it because I'm more or less because I am scared of doing a live stream properly, there's none of that, so you just have to sort of sit and watch me do this. And occasionally I'll throw you a tidbit of information, but you know, so far I've literally just drawn a grid, so let's not get too excited. I think that probably wants a harder line, doesn't it? To denote the edge of that, where the roof meets the wall. One thing that's guaranteed to happen in this video as well is that I tend to quite often make the mistake of drawing things on the wrong layer, spending 10 minutes or so doing something and then realising I've done it on the reference layer and having to delete everything. So look forward to that. It's very self-deprecating, this, isn't it? Self-deprecating. No, it's not self-defecating. Right, so merge that layer down. So what I've got is that basic grid, and at some point I will go in, I think, and add, you know, a different colour of grey to that to make those lines sort of 3D. And then, as I said, at some point, for all the backgrounds, there will be this layered city skyline that will have its perspective tweaked as you go along, or as you go up. But for now, let's see about this table. I think in video like 1 or 2 I said I was going to try and get loads better at layering and like not having a million billion layers, but so far that hasn't quite gone to plan. And this whole thing is still an element of organised chaos to the whole proceedings. There we go, drilling next door. Excellent. Having a bathroom put in, if you're wondering. Now, I've also got this guy here, just so you know, which is a reference layer, which I've tried to use to kind of keep some degree of consistency in terms of like a reference point for size of things, but it's all gone a bit out the window because I was looking at it the other day. Well, for A, this guy won't even be the guy, so that style might not work, but the other thing is that I was looking at some of the rooms the other day, and they're all different. Like you'll come out of the same lift in every single one, but be slightly different. Things will be a slightly different size. I don't care really. Right, so I'm not an expert at art, but I've kind of trying to figure out in every room where the source of light's coming from, and then just doing some basic shading of elements according to that. So if the light is at the back of this room, that's going to be slightly darker at the front. And then we will just make that. I think when I first started doing this, I had everything with a sort of solid black background outline, sorry, but I quickly realised that looked a bit too harsh, so I just stripped that back a little bit. I've also been trying to just round the corners on everything to make it a bit more cartoony and friendly. And what I've found is that as I go, these rooms tend to look a bit dull when I've finished them in Pixarkey, and then really come to life when I get round to adding the lighting, which I use in Affinity Photo to do. So I'm just going to assume that goes to somewhere like, you can go all the way to there, I guess. But it wouldn't, would it? It would stop. If I've got this big curved cupboard thing, and the table has to stop behind it, has to stop there, doesn't it? Come on, let's do this properly if we're going to do it at all. Which is advice that flies in the face of what I said a few minutes ago. So in my last video I mentioned that I actually haven't done much on this game in a little while, through kind of a mixture of laziness and having pushed through that part of a project where it stops being like really fun straight away. So I kind of just taken my foot off the gas a bit. So I figured that doing this, even if like literally nobody watches it, is a good way for me to actually get some progress done on a room. What I'm going to do now is just, instead of doing that twice, I'm just going to copy that thing and then flip it and bonk it down there so that it's more or less symmetrical. Give myself a little edge of the table. I've drawn a lot of tables. I think I've sort of settled on this game being all in one office, in one building, which is fine, but it has meant that I've drawn a lot of tables. And the other thing is this idea of it all being similar room templates, I think is okay, but I'm running the risk of it being a bit dull. Like when you get into each floor, you'll just have this. You won't have any sort of wacky angles or anything. It's all just going to be the same angle over and over again, just with slightly longer or differently laid out rooms. And I think I'm hoping that's okay, but we shall see. At the end of the day, I'm a lowly solo dev doing his best, so I don't really care what anyone thinks. I'm just going to make that a whole line across. I really don't know what I'm supposed to be saying in this live stream. Sorry, I'm also being really quiet. I know that. I have to pump the volume up in a bit, or in the post processing phase. I'm just going to use the erase function to erase that. Cool. Right, bit of 3D-ness on this table leg now. Let's drop the colour slightly. I'm not going to draw a full line to where that is. I'm just going to sort of remember what the shape is. That'll do. So that's just like one line. I do wonder as well if there are any like proper artists watching this just like screaming at their computers because of all the mistakes I've made, but again, I'm just sort of doing what comes naturally, he said to the judge. You know when I flipped the table over there, I wish I'd done the legs first. Well, it is what it is. Because I've got this weird problem where I don't know where I'm going. Right. Okay. Let's delete that line now. Let's get rid of our reference. See how we're looking. I mean, very basic, but it's kind of getting there. Somewhere I've got like another stock city background I might throw in just to make things look a bit less depressing whilst we're drawing. That's something to look forward to, isn't it? Joking aside, thank you for, if you are still watching, thank you for watching. I've been really amazed by the amount of people who have sort of come out of the woodwork to watch these videos, and how many people are doing similar things right now. It's quite inspiring, if I'm being honest, to see this much support for quite a small, you know, crappy channel that's just started. I say inspiring, I mean, you know, nice, rewarding. Inspiring is a bit of a lame word, isn't it? Let me see where I went wrong without my perspective lines. In fact, all my layers are sort of gone up the wall now, but let's just push on and I'll delete everything in a minute. Right. I promise you this will make sense in about 30 seconds. I'm also quite conscious of either my recording on my computer or the recording on this screen just literally crashing, because the recording on the computer is at 1 gig already. And I've only been doing this for 22 minutes. I'll tell you, I might go try and get to like half an hour and then pause it and then we'll go again. A little bit back of that and that and that and that. Let's give you a bit of that and you a bit of that. Right. Now, I didn't say it's going to be pretty at this stage, but that is a functional table. This room is actually going to be a bit of an interesting one to do, because a lot of what I have here that's going to be on these tables is plants, which nobody likes to draw plants. Tell you what I'm going to do is just find the room that has this 5 to 18 badge. Nope, somewhere. Come on, is it here? Nope. Somewhere. This is what I mean by my layers. Stupid. Should have organised this better. Nope. So wait, what I'm doing is trying to find one of these that's got, yes, is it that? Yeah, well, I'm going to copy that. Go back to my greenhouse and paste that in there. Well, that's interesting, isn't it? Don't know what I've done. Let's try again there. You. Oh, I think I just duplicated it in that map. Sorry. Right. Paste. There we go. Okay. So when you're in the game, levels with the lift or elevator on the right are floors 1 to 5, and then 6 to 18. Sort of represents Act 2, if you will, which is where the game opens up quite a lot. Right, what I'm going to do now, just to get really exciting, is put some texture on this table in the most basic way ever, which is literally just to do this. A bunch of times in different colours, and then play with the opacity, and then suddenly you've got something that looks a little bit like wood. Again, I've been drawing a lot of backgrounds that involve tables, so I've been doing a lot of like browns which, you know, no one ever said this was going to be a fun game to play. So I wonder if now will be a good chance actually to just explain the plot of the game. I don't know if anyone's really interested, but the plot of the game is that you turn up late for work. You're a guy named Tom, you turn up late for work, and you have to get to your desk to A, before the boss notices, and B, to get a presentation that you need to present to him by a certain time in the day. However, things at the company are not what they seem, and before long you start to realise that. And then it takes a bit of a twist. Okay, that's not so bad. I think, I say not so bad, it looks a bit bad, but the point is that when I've done my lighting in the other app, I'm hoping this will sort of come together a bit. What I might do is just merge those now and muck around with that a bit. Spam emails coming in. Right, we're at 2 gig on the video, and this is still recording, so who knows when we're going to crash. Okay, this big sort of cabinet thing, choose your own adventure, it is what you want it to be. Let's make it a bit curved at the back. And the benefit of doing the perspective that I'm doing for everything is that everything is sort of flat to the front of the screen, so I haven't got to really worry about you know, angles coming this way and sort of confusing stuff like that. Again, it might come across as a bit dull, but that's a risk I'm willing to take, given that I'm trying to get this done this lifetime. So that's going to be straight to there, right, to there, right, to level with the table, where the table leg stops here. Like that. It's all rough and ready. I promise you this will look good in the end. Or good, I'll say good. Better than it currently does. Right, I think what I might do is get to like half an hour on the video, then stop it, then just do like a load of silent drawing where I screen record, and then come back to it. When I get to the other app, which might be an interesting process for you to watch. Let's continue as we are for now. chasing that line. Just so if this is like an openable thing, you have the edge of the door meets the actual shadow inside. It gives it a little bit of extra depth. In fact, what I might do is just make that like a ledge. Make it a ledge so that it's that sort of a thing that cupboards are, isn't it? You have like a base bit and then that sticks out. So let's make it dark green like that. There we go. Right. Whilst we're at it, let's just curve off some of these table legs. Right, how are we doing? 30 minutes, okay. In that case, yeah, I'm gonna stop talking and just do some like fast forwardy bits so you can see me draw the rest of this, and then we'll jump over into Affinity Photo. All right, bye. Okay, so some time has passed. So much so, in fact, that it's actually a different day now. But you can see where we've got to with this. So I think from where I was, I've drawn some foreground stuff, finished off all these plants, drew the object that you need to pick up, a couple of other details, and then put some some black stuff in the foreground. I've now imported this from Pixarkey over to Infinity Photo, which is where I'm going to finish off some bits and bobs. I don't know if, because I can't remember when I put this background image in here, but this is literally just something I stole off the internet. So if this is your art, sorry, but it's not going in the game when it's finished. Don't worry about it. Okay, so there's a couple of things I need to do first of all, which I'm doing to all of these, which is to resize the canvas, or the image I should say. So I'm scrolling to pixels, doing it ×4, click OK, takes a couple of seconds to crunch, and then there you go. So this is now a 1920 by 1080 HD image. Sorry for the 4K people out there, but you know, I figure this is good enough for what it needs to be. And it does this kind of weird thing of basically making it not pixel art anymore, but as I mentioned in a previous video, I quite like it. It's a little bit weird and stylized, and I've yet to see, you know, how actual characters will look when I've designed them in this, but there you go. Right, the next one that I do is to add some blur to our foreground stuff. So I'm setting that at 4, I think. I actually need to slightly expand it in every direction because for some reason it affects the overall size of the layer. But as you can see, it just adds a bit of blur, which I think is nice because it's out of focus. I'm also going to just get rid of this water thing that was here, because whilst that'll be an element that I will want to animate at some point, I was thinking of having water drip out of this pipe down into this bucket. We don't need that right now. Okay. Ooh, right. So the next thing is I've stumbled across an effect in Affinity, which what are you? Oh yeah, that shadow. Okay. Which adds a sort of 3D-ness to every object. So, oh, there's a massive plane. Don't know if you can hear that. So I'm just going to add that to everything, like so, and it kind of just makes things pop a little bit. You may not like it. I'm not still 100% sure if I do, but there we go. I actually think for what it's worth, I might take it off the plants and off of the back wall. Let me see what it's like if I take it off the plants. Right. No. Maybe it's better without. Not sure, we'll come back to that. The main thing I'm here for though is lighting, which is a bit of a made up tactic that I've been using, but it kind of works. So add a layer, and then we need to go into the sort of selection tool and map out the rough limits of the space that I'm trying to add lighting to. So in this instance it's the floor. Oh, that's a mistake. Okay, so if this is the floor roughly mapped out, I can now add a fill of a gradient, and I kind of want that to be it's the lights at the back of the room. Then we have back of the room being white and the front being darker, and maybe a bit more grey. And then I can kind of just muck around with the opacity of it. Maybe it does want to be black actually. Although it's kind of red. I don't want red. I want black. There we go. And it's a bit bloody fiddly, this. And I don't really know what I'm doing. There is an art to making it kind of work whilst also being subtle enough to not cause offence. Let me have a look at that. Now, annoyingly, maybe I want to do above that and then adjust the overall opacity. That's okay. But I think there's going to be, we might need a few more passes at that. I think what we need to do is add some light kind of overall in the room, which is an easier job because I can just add a radial effect, so that is going to be bright white and that is going to be bright white but with no opacity. So then the back of the room is kind of brighter than the front. And again, it's a bit of a game of just mucking around and seeing what works and what doesn't. And also figure out where to place that light. That's looking okay, I guess. You can also add, figure out you can add a gradient overlay to objects themselves. So in this instance, let's make that white. Oh, no, that wants to be the other way around, doesn't it? That one wants to be white. That one wants to be black, or in this case, let's make it a very dark green, since that's the colour it actually is. There we go, that's more like it. So you can add a sort of like more of a shade coming off the side of it. Okay, and then on top of that I might just want to add a layer that grabs all of the side stuff here. So the elevator and the bucket. And this cabinet thing, whatever the hell I decided it was. Damn it. When we're doing this with the Apple Pencil rather than a mouse, is that sometimes your hand gets in the way. Okay, let's do another one. So gradient, we want a linear one probably coming from there, so that's the light, that's the dark. looks okay to me. Maybe make that a little bit darker, given that it's in the shadow more. And deselect. I kind of taught myself this this software, and I'm still teaching myself this software. And once again, I'm sure there are going to be artists out there who are literally screaming at me for what I'm doing. But you know, I don't really care. Deselect, let's try that again, shall we? Okay. Linear, and we want that to be sort of, no, sorry, that one there to be sort of grey a little bit, and that one to be quite dark, but from a green perspective. Again, just sort of mucking around to try and figure out the right balance. And the right balance is often not very much. So what I might do is just make that a whole layer a little bit less opaque. More opaque? I never really know the right term when it comes to opacity. I used to think they were the opposite of what they mean anyway, to be honest. Let me deselect that. Oh, come on, stop being silly. And sometimes this software does this thing, which it's doing right now, where it kind of covers up the buttons up here with a big black blob. And I don't really know. There we go. Now stop it doing that. Right. Okay. That's getting somewhere. I'm still not really happy with how this lighting looks at the back of the room. I wonder if it needs to. And the floor as well needs a bit of work, I think. Might add like just another one as well. Add a layer on top of that. Put down there maybe, and then join me on another game of tracing out the floor. There's probably a better way to do this again, but I don't know what I'm doing. I think that, you know, part of the purpose of this whole exercise is seeing if somebody who doesn't know what they're doing can actually make a game, draw a game, code a game, all that jazz. Right now I don't know what the answer is. Kind of want to have a bit of yellowness in it actually. Bit of yellowness that was. Sorry, I was talking and muttering under my breath. Which is great for a live stream. Getting there. I don't know what these weird lines are here. What are they? Where are they coming from? Oh, damn it. I knew I shouldn't have combined all those layers. Okay, let's just push on anyway. Only a couple more things to do, I think, really. I'm going to add a... what am I going to do? I'm going to add a gradient to the table. See if I can figure out how to do that. Actually, I'm not going to do it that way. That's the cheating way. What we're going to do instead is do it the old-fashioned way by the slow way, I should say. By grabbing the surface of the table itself. And when I say grabbing, of course I mean outlining, which is highly exciting to watch, I know. Right, and yet another overlay. Probably elliptical, maybe. Let's do an elliptical one because they're fun. So, point of light is at the back there. Probably want that to sort of be our colour. A bit darker. Like that. Just enough to give it a kind of the illusion of, you know, lighting being different the closer you are towards that window. It's done that thing again. Stop it. Stop being weird. Stop being weird. Stop being weird. There you go. Deselect. Okay, I reckon a couple more bits and bobs, and then that's pretty much done. One of which is I just need to add, not entirely happy with the lighting situation, so I'm going to add a massive radial gradient here to the whole room. Around until, oh no, that's completely the wrong way. There we go. That needs to be full, that needs to be like that. Right. And then just whip it down a bit so there's actual light coming through the window. Okay. It might be too much, but we can muck around with it. There's also, I've got one behind the glass here somewhere. Which I can... Yeah, it also loves to try and get you to put things in. It's like grouped layers, which I'm trying to avoid. I just want to put it in between these two. There we go. Okay, and then the last thing for now. I mean, I might tinker with this endlessly later down the line. But the last thing is I have been putting, this is a stock thing, but this lens filter on, just to have the same sort of broad colour scheme and everything. And that's more or less it. Unless I now just want to have another little experiment with those plants. Maybe they do want to be 3D. No, they definitely don't. Right. Well, there you go. That's oh, I tell a lie. There is one more thing. Sorry. Let me come back out. Let me drag you into the game folder. And we just need to steal the lights from a similar room, because I've been using the same lighting and everything. So I'm going to copy those, pasteboard copy. We want them underneath there, so there, pasteboard, paste. You want to be above that, and then there we go. Just for prosperity's sake, let's bring this test guy in. He, as I said before, he won't be in the game. He's just the guy that I am dumping into rooms to see if they look like a game. Pasteboard, paste. There he is. And you'll go like that. Of course, when I export these, I will flatten basically everything, so it's just the background and then the foreground and the items in the rooms. And there we go. I think, you know, at some point I will fudge about a little bit with the amount of lighting going on, and obviously the background of the sky will be different. There'll be rain on the windows there, as there's rain in every scene. But there we go. That is sort of drawing a room more or less from scratch, right in front of your very eyes. So, you know, I hope that was useful. Let me know if you want to see me do this again, or if once was frankly too many times. I understand this is like an hour-long video now, so good on you if you're still here. And other than that, I will see you in the next one. Bye.